Alright, this is not the video I planned to make today. This is my Mercedes A45S, my pride and joy, my daily driver, and hands down one of the most exciting hot hatches out there. But today, it's broken down. Yes, you've heard it right. After all the hype, the performance, and AMG madness, it decided to call it quits. So in this video, I'm going to take you through what happened, how it all went down, and what I'm doing next. Whether that's a fix, a fight with the warranty company, or maybe even saying goodbyes. Let's get into it. Initially, all of this started about 3 weeks ago. I was driving home and suddenly I seen a bit of smoke coming from the bonnet of the car. So I immediately pulled over, opened the bonnet, and I couldn't see anything. So I made my way back to the garage, put the car up, did a full inspection, and I couldn't see any signs of burnt wires or any fires. So I thought nothing of it and I continued on my journey. So a week later now, I was driving and suddenly I started hearing a really loud knocking noise coming from the engine, from the front of the car. And every time I sped up, it would get louder, and as you come to idle, it would get quieter. And at this point, I absolutely shut myself because this sounded exactly like a bottom end or a top end engine damage. So I left the car there, got the car recovered to the garage, and then, so as the car got to the garage, it straight went on the ramp, and I immediately started taking stuff apart. And as I took the under tray off, this is what I found. And here is the under tray. And as you can see on this side, there is a melted rubber spread all over from this end all the way down. And this came off from, let's have a look. As you can see, the same rubber spread all over them pulleys. But all of that happened because of, can you see it? And there it is. And that is the failed component right there. So at this point, I was really relieved that it's not the engine, it's only the AC compressor, until I went onto Mercedes system and looked at the price. More on the price later on down the video, but for now, I think we should dig a bit deeper and see exactly what caused the failure, and let's start removing some parts. So now we can get a closer look. As you can see, the AC compressor clutch part is completely shredded off, and yeah, so that must have seized inside. That's the crankshaft pulley, and now what we need to do is remove this auxiliary belt, so then we can have a closer look at the rest of that system. So now that the tensioner is locked, we can remove the belt. And there we go. We will be replacing this belt. Here is the belt, and as we can see, the state of the belt, it's not bad at all, but we'll still be replacing this. We already have a new replacement, but that is actually okay. Right, so a lot of you may think this is a very straightforward job, and it is not so straightforward job. We have already looked at the technical information for this specific engine on Mercedes system. So we know what we are doing. There's a lot of stuff that needs to come off, but before we begin with the AC compressor, there's a lot of little stuff that you need to be very careful about. First thing is we've already discharged the AC lines and everything has been flushed. Now there's multiple ways of flushing the AC systems. You can either flush it with a proper dedicated system, which costs thousands of pounds. If you don't have it, you can take it to a garage and they can flush it for you, or you can get a DIY kit and flush the system. But there's a lot of technical stuff that you need to be very careful about when flushing the system, as you don't want no moisture within this system. And when we come to replacing the AC pump soon, together with the dry unit, I will tell you why it's so important to keep the moisture out, and you need to be very quick with the replacements. So yeah, let's continue removing parts and get to the AC compressor. So engine cover. Next is the ECU and its wiring, and also the filter box. So this is what we've done so far. The airbox, the ECU is removed. The next part would be to remove this AC line and also this coolant line. As you can see, I've already disconnected that, and that's currently draining some coolant there. So that pipe needs to come off, them two pipes needs to come off, and then we can remove the fan assembly. So easier said than done, but let's continue. So that alignment is on 4 notch, no 4, 1 2 3 4 5 there and 5 on that side from the top. I am making some good progress. As you can see, the front bumper is off, and I got a bit sidetracked because I saw a lot of leaves and dirt here, so I thought I'll just remove this panel and get that cleaned out. The reason I removed the bumper is because we will be replacing the dry unit, which is this part, and obviously sits behind the bumper. So there's one bolt through there, but this will be the last part that we change. So we're gonna put the car up. Obviously I'll quickly clean this up first, and then we'll put it up, replace the compressor, then replace this, and then we'll start putting stuff back together. Let's continue. And look at all of those leaves. That is madness. But yeah, that's all clean. Now let's put the car up and continue with our normal work, what we should be doing. Right, so the car is up in the air, and now we can see the compressor. So there are 3 bolts, 1, 2, one is back there. I've also disconnected the connector. That goes up there, and then the 3rd bolt is in there. So them 3 bolts, of course there are 2 AC lines, so that needs to be disconnected. Let me see if I can get a good look from here. So you can see one of them there, and the other one is from the other side. So both of those AC lines need to be disconnected as well. So yeah, let's drop this. The next section, you can see me here. I've already removed the old compressor, and we can see the extent of the damage clearly, where the clutch pulley and all the rubber that was on the side has completely melted off due to the pump seized. So there we go, the pulley, as you can see, all the metal part and everything has literally ripped apart. And then we basically move on to the new compressor, which is on the side. At this point I removed all the pipes, and I also checked the radiator there though, so one of the condensers, and that was all we all checked out. The new compressor obviously has those bungs and everything there, so do not remove them just yet. Once you remove them, make sure you quickly connect the pipes, and also the bolts that is held on, when the bolts that screw onto the engine, it holds that pump together. So here I have put the pump back together. It's really simple and straightforward. The next part would be to connect the new drive belt, and then we can move on to replacing the dryer cartridge. Here is the replacement belt. Even though there was nothing wrong with the old belt, I still decide to replace all the parts that usually come off. So I don't have to do it. I don't have to come and do the same job again and again. because I didn't bother replacing certain parts. So yeah, the new belt is on there. Really straightforward. I also checked to make sure the connector for the AC line is connected, and now it's time to disconnect the dry cartridge. So there is two 10mm bolts on either side, and then I think is a T45 bolt that holds the pipe. I have the new dry cartridge on top nearby, so as soon as I remove these bolts, you need to quickly replace the dry cartridge, especially when you remove those plastic bunks that prevents moisture from going into the cartridge. So as soon as you see me pull those off, I move on to straight, putting them on and sealing that as soon as possible, so that dry cartridge does not absorb any moisture from the air. And as soon as that's in, we'll put the clamps back on there and make sure you tighten the clamps to the proper torque set. Fortunately, the battery died on the mics, but what I've done is replace the dryer, the compressor is back on, everything else that we've disconnected from here, all the coolant lines and everything else are back together, the fan is back in. The next part would be to put the bumper on, put the airbox back on, the ECU, connect all these pipes and wires, and look at my hands, and then we'll move on to the arch liner and everything else. So yeah, we are making good progress. We're almost there, almost. And yeah, let's continue. Right, so we are almost there. We're making some good progress, almost done. The last bit that's left on the car now is the airbox, the engine cover. And one thing I have done is I haven't connected the AC pump yet. I mean, I've connected the pump, but I haven't connected the electrical connector, which activates the clutch. And the reason I've left that on is off is because we still don't have AC gas in the system. I still need to take it for AC charging and also adding the system oil. So the pump, the AC pump came with its own oil. It's usually come pre-oiled. but the system, when you flush the system, you'll remove the other system oil, and therefore when you refill the gas, the system oil needs to be added to the system, otherwise you're going to damage the new compressor. So just for safety, I have left it unplugged just in case I start the car and automatically kicks in. So I've left it unplugged, and we'll plug it in when we're doing the AC gassing. But for now, let's quickly put the box on, the ECU on, put the engine cover on, and take the car off the ramp. Right. Let me, that one's going to go onto that side there, stay there. This one is going to connect here. That one will connect to this. This goes there, that goes there, and this goes there. Now the only thing that we have left there is this. So put the sleeve on there, but before that, to do is under here, and we need to find the holes. And there we go. There you go. That is in. This one will clip in there. This wire will come through before we connect that. That one is fully in. That needs to sit there. Let's quickly connect this and tighten this one. There we go. And now we need to connect this pipe, which is a bit tricky to do, but perfect. There we go. Happy days. That is connected. Now next is the ECU wirings. Right. But before that, let's plug that one there, this one here, that one there. Main wire goes here, then perfect. All of that's in, and last part is this. Perfect, and we are done. That almost took the entire day. Just a simple little job, but not so simple when it comes to AMG. Yeah, next thing is to do the coolant. Make sure we top up the coolant, but I can't do the coolant yet because the coolant on these cars is done through vacuum. We have a special machine that does the coolant on these cars. So for that one, I'll have to wait till tomorrow. I've got a headache. But yeah, need to do the coolant, finish the coolant, and then gas. And we are done. Let's take the car off the ramp. And there we go. Everything is sorted. Right, so I have got the papers. Obviously the car is done, but now it's time to talk about the costs. How much did this job actually cost me? Of course, I'm not going to charge myself for the labor, but if you guys got similar fault with your A45S, this is what you guys should be expecting to pay. Mine wasn't the worst case scenario, but I will also give you the figures for the worst case scenario if you have to replace, let's say, the condensers and the evaporators. So yeah, let's begin. So all of these parts are directly from Mercedes themselves, and this is how much I paid. So the compressor was £999.78. The dryer cartridge was £66. The seals, all the seals, was £59.88. So that is the parts. And then if I were to pay then, let's say, the labor, Mercedes for this entire job in terms of the labor, for flushing the AC system, for removing and replacing the AC component, and all of this, that will cost me, after including replacing the dryer as well, would have cost me 4.5 hours of labor. So if I were to do that with Mercedes themselves, this job, together with the AC gas charging, which is usually between £250 and £350, and also the coolant, which is about £25. So if I were to do this job with Mercedes themselves, with the 4.5 hours of labor at our local Mercedes rate, I would have been looking at £2,240.66. This is for what I've done today. Now, if you had the worst case scenario where you had to replace the condensers, there are two radiators, one in the driver's side front footwell area, well, no footwell area, under the headlight, and one is just above the dryer that we replaced. So the first condenser is at £374.40. The second one is £220.80. Also, the expansion valve you'll have to then replace, which is £134.40. The evaporator, which will be £370.80. And then the labor for all of that job would be 6.7 hours and charge at the local Mercedes. You'll be looking at a total of £4,025.06 to do this job. So before you guys buy a Mercedes, think about these figures, because this is crazy. Also, I have another video coming out very soon, as I've almost had the car for a year, and that is the cost breakdown of how much I have actually spent in the last year on this car in terms of like maintenance and these work. And believe me, if you guys are looking into buying one of these cars, you don't want to miss that video, because that is quite a shocker. And with that being said, I think it's time to end this video and call it a day here. We shall catch you on the next one.